Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi, Masechah SOTAH Daf Lamed. We are holding on the fifth line from the top of the Amud. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Asi, Amar Rav. Rav Asi quotes Rav. V'amrila, according to others, Amar Rav ben Isi, in the name of Rav, Amar Rav. As follows, we find 5 Tanoim who all of them hold the same thing. That what? That when it comes to chulin, material which is neither truma nor kachim, at most it will become a sheni l'tuma, which means that if it touched an avatuma, it turns into a rishon l'tuma, and then it could turn around and transfer that tuma to the next item, a sheni, but the buck stops there. It never gets past sheni, as opposed to truma or kachim, which are more sensitive and delicate. They can be affected even further. But chulin stops at sheni. Who are these 5 shittas? Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yesi, Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Eliezer. Kulu Svirlu, all of them hold the ein sheni. If you have a sheni l'tuma, it cannot turn around and ois shlishi, make a shlishi, if we're speaking bechulin. Where are these 5 shittas? Rabbi Meir. Let's start with Rabbi Meir. This now the Mishnah says, Galaton bias mayim, midivrei sefer. If a fellow needs to be toivel midirabanan. We have several examples in the Gemara on Shabbos. A person who went into mayim she'uvin, drawn water. A person who ate a certain amount of food which is tummy. One's hands, yadayim, are considered a sheni l'tuma. Right? So they need the tefillah. And what happens? Metame is HaKodesh. If it touched Kodesh, a carbon, it is Metame the Kodesh, which means that hands which are Sheni turn the Kodesh into a Shlishi, which can, yes, transfer tumah further. That's what Metame means. What that means, Tame means that it has it to the extent that it can transfer it further. So when it comes to Kodesh, the Kodesh which came into contact with the Sheni turns into a Shlishi, which can then generate a Revi. Upais l'sat Truma. If those hands touched a piece of truma, the truma is now puzzle. Puzzle means that it can't transfer the truma further, but it's disqualified on its own from eating, etc. So yes, kachim and truma are affected to the point that a shlishi is a concern. But when it comes to other items, umutar b'chulin b'maser, divir Rabbi Meir, as opposed to chulin and maser, aren't so delicate, don't have such high standards. If sheni comes into contact with chulin, you're safe and sound, because chulin cannot become a shlishi. Chacham Eisrim b'maser. Chacham hold when it comes to maser sheni. Higher standards there. Okay. But all agree that chulin cannot become a shlishi. So Rabbi Meir is checked off the list. What about Rabbi Yesi? Hadamaran. That was yesterday's daf. Rabbi Yesi presented us with a kal v'chomer. Basically, the way of thinking yesterday was, the structure of the daf was that chulin is the lowest of all. Whatever chulin gets to, truma takes it a step further, and kachim is even more delicate, a step further. So our point of reference was that chulin is a step below truma, and truma is a step below kachim. So now, if it is so that minat Torah, there is something called a shlishi l'tuma by chulin, then truma should go to a revi, and kachim could extend even a step further to a chamishi, and we know that's not so. Rabbi Yesi never presented that yesterday. It was only truma to shlishi and kachim to revi. Apparently chulin stops at a sheni, because chulin is always a step behind. If it's true that chulin can go until revi, laisi l'revi b'truma, so we can generate a revi by truma, but chamishi b'kodesh, and by kodesh a step further to chamishi. The fact that we don't do so indicates that chulin stops at a sheni. Okay, so Rabbi Yesi is off the list. Rabbi Yeshua also holds as such this non. Rabbi Lazar Eimer, ha'oichel, if a person eats oichel, food which is rishon l'tuma, he himself, the person, the eater, turns into a rishon as well. Rashi says it's Rabbanon. You can't have truma. You consider rishon l'tumah. If you have food which is a sheni, then the eater turns into a sheni as well. Shlishi, shlishi. So basically, according to Rabbi Lezer, you are what you eat. You ate a rishon, you turn into a rishon. Sheni, sheni, etc. Rabbi Shoimer, it's not so simple. And the Gemara there in Chulin discusses the intricacies of their machlekes. We're not going to go into it now. Rabbi Shoimer, it's a bit different. Ha'oichel rishon v'oichel sheni. Whether you eat a rishon l'tumah or even a sheni l'tumah, sheni, you turn into a sheni. Shlishi, you have a shlishi l'tumah as your food. Sheni. That upgrades you into a sheni. Interesting. Sheni b'kodesh, with reference to karbanis, you're treated like a sheni. Ve'in sheni b'truma, but not with reference to touching truma, you're not considered a sheni. Now, how do we have a shlishi food to begin with? How do you get to a shlishi l'tumah? So he explains. Listen, but truma, only b'chulin shenasu al taras truma. You can only have a shlishi l'tumah if it's chulin, which was treated and protected with the higher standards as though it would be truma. Rashi explains this was common practice for kohanim in order to accustom themselves to keep themselves protected and the food protected, so they would treat all their food like it was truma. Knowing that truma is extra delicate and sensitive, they would treat their chulin the same way, make sure it has the same standards as truma, and that type of chulin can have potential to become a shlishi. Right? We give it the same halacha of truma, and truma can become a shlishi. This type of chulin is treated as such. Now let's make a diuk. Al taras truma in. Only chulin which was labeled as though it's truma, that can become a shlishi. Al taras hakodesh lay. But suppose a fellow decides, I want to keep super high standards. I want to treat my food like kach, like karbanis, and conform to all the chumras of karbanis. Nah, that doesn't work. Rashi says, batla data, his mindset is sort of negated. It's not common practice. We don't take it seriously. It has no halachic bearing, right? Al taras hakodesh loy. We treat it like a regular chulin. We ignore his attitude. Bottom line, Alma Kasavar, it's clear that Rabbi Shua holds Ein Sheni Oiser Shlishi B'Chulin. If it's really regular chulin, ordinary chulin, or chulin which was purportedly treated as karbanis, which is pretty much nonsense, we don't take that into consideration. Regular chulin is treated like chulin and cannot become ishlishi. Only chulin which was treated like truma, that has legitimacy, that has value. It makes sense. So we treat it like truma, could become a shlishi. But otherwise, regular, ordinary chulin cannot become a shlishi. So it's clear, according to Rabbi Shua, there's no concept of shlishi by chulin. Next, Rabbi Lezer. This is Rabbi Lezer Eimer. Shlosh and Shavan. All three are equal. Which three? The following. Harishan, if it's a rishon l'tumah. Sheba kodesh, whether it's a carbon, which is a rishon l'tumah. V'sheba chulin, whether it's chulin, which is a rishon. V'sheba truma, or it's truma material. All three, whether it's chulin, truma, or kachim, if they are a rishon, they all have the same power. With respect to touching karbanis, it extends all the way into sheni, into shlishi, into revi. With respect to truma, so it extends until a shlishi. So this rishon is metame, the next one, which in turn is paisel, the third one. That's it. That's a shlishi, if it's truma. But if it's not chulin not kachim or truma, it stops at a sheni. Upaisel echad b'chulin. If this rishon touched chulin, it's just pasel, meaning it merely gets affected, but it stops there. It doesn't carry over to a shlishi. Clearly, chulin stops at a sheni. Next, Rabbi Eliezer. That's not. Rabbi Eliezer Omer chaloni tell us from Torah l'tmei. Listen to this. You can have two doughs from which the challah portion needs to be separated for the kain. Now, you have the one on the right, which is, let's say, tameh. The one on the left, which is tar. You can actually take challah off the left one, the tar one, and include the amount needed for the tameh one. Right? That's the best way to bring challah to the kohen, challah tahira, which you can use, etc. So he wants to do it this way. You can do it. Now, there's a halacha called mukaf. When you separate truma or challah, it should be from one singular, connected unit, rather than from a distance, remote control. Rashi says we're learning from a pasuk. You want to separate from it, from itself. Question: how do you do it in this case? You don't want to take challah, which is tummy. You want to take from the isa tahira on the whole thing, but you can't connect it, otherwise the tumah just spreads. So what do? Listen to this solution. Ketzad, how do you go about doing this? Shtei isas. You have two doughs, achas tahira. The left one is tar, v'achas tameh. The right one is tummy. So what do? You start separating the amount of dough needed for the challah on the entire thing, and you take it from the isa shloi hurma chalasa, from the left one, the tahir one, from which challah was not yet removed, so it's still obligated. It's chayiv and challah. Otherwise, you couldn't take off challah if it's already pater, right? But how do you connect the two doughs? V'noisen pachas mikabesa be'emtza. Here you take a small piece of dough which is tar, but it's less than a sheer kibetza, less than an egg volume of dough, which cannot serve as a conductor of tumah. Tumah that hits that little piece of dough cannot be transferred further. It doesn't conduct tumah from the right to the left, from the tummy to the tar. And he puts that right in the middle to sort of connect the right one, which is tummy, to the left one, which is tar. It's right in the middle, which makes it all one unit, which now enables them to separate the challah dough from the left one, which is tar, on the entire thing, which is now connected. They disagree. You can't do that. And soon we're going to try to explore the rationale behind the machlekes. Rabbi Yehuda seems to hold that the tumah will not spread to the left dough. Chacham seem to hold it would. Why? We'll see in a minute. But Tani, we have a brisa, which actually tells us that the piece of dough in the middle can be a kibetza, even a kibetza size of dough is okay. Now the question is why. So we're going to focus on the brisa now, and later we'll go back to the Mishnah, why the Mishnah insists on less than a kibetza. We'll get to that later. So now the Bnei Yeshiva, who presented this whole presentation, try to prove that Rabbi Lezer, in fact, holds that chulin can never turn into a shlishi l'tumah. So it was based on the way they understood the machlekes between Rabbi Lezer, who says you can use this kibetza dough to connect, and Rabbanan who say you can't. Savrua idi v'idi, both Rabbi Lezer and Rabbanan hold be'isa. Sorry, both, meaning the Mishnah and the Brisa, either meaning the Mishnah and the Brisa, are speaking Be'isa Rishayna. The right dough, which is tummy, is very tummy. It's a Rishon L'tumah, almost as high as you can get. That's the first premise. Number two, V'chulin hatvulin nachala, and chulin, in this case, the dough, which is considered in a status of tevel, with respect to its challah, meaning it has potential challah in it, which has to be removed. Like a challah domo. It's not treated, we don't look at it like it's challah, like it's truma, like it has a higher standard, like it's more delicate. It's still in potential state. It's not yet a realized challah, right? So it's treated like regular chulin. So based on that premise, we have to figure out the machlekes. Why does Rabbi Lezer say you can connect it with that piece of dough? And Rabbanan don't allow it. My lab book of the machlekes is as follows. The Mar Savar, Rabbi Lezer holds, Ein sheni oisa shlishi b'chulin. A sheni can never spread his tumah into the next item if it's chulin. So now the isa, the dough on the right, which is a rishon, right? We spoke about isa rishon, it's a rishon l'tumah, transfers its tumah to the dough in the middle, which is now a sheni, but that's it. Stops there. It cannot spread it into the dough on the left, because ein sheni oisa shlishi b'chulin. That's Rabbi Lezer. Umar Saba, Rabbanan disagree. Rabbanan hold sheni oisa shlishi b'chulin. The little piece of dough in the middle can spread its tumah to the dough on the left, and make it into a shlishi. Apparently, Rabbi Lezer holds chulin can never be a shlishi. Omar Rav Mori Breder Rav Kahana, no. The kuli alma and sheni oiser shlishi b'chulin. Perhaps all agree that the truma cannot spread into the dough which is tar and make it into a shlishi. So what's the machlekes? V'acha b'chulin hatvulin nechalak mifleki. The question is whether the dough which has in it that potential challah, the dough which is slated for challah removal, how is that treated? Mar sabak challah damu. Rabbanan say we treat it like challah, like it's already truma, as though its potential was already realized. And we know truma can become a shlishi, so that's why it's a concern, because it's going to accept its tumah from the dough in the middle, which is a sheni, which got its tumah from the dough on the right, which is a rishon. Omar sabak like a challah damu. Rabbi Lezer holds, no, dough on the left is a challah, it's chulin, and chulin cannot become a shlishi. So there's no concern about tumah transfer. Everybody say another alternative shot can be the kuli alma chulin atvulin nechala like a challah damu. Everybody holds that the dough on the left, which is as yet not challah, is not challah, is chulin. And ve'ein sheni oiser shlishi b'chulin. And you're right, all agree that chulin can never become a shlishi, can never be affected by that middle dough which is a sheni. So why do Rabbanan not allow this system to be employed? The question is a different one. Is one allowed to cause chulin in Eretz Yisrael to become tamei? A general question. Shall we say that midrabanan any chulin in Eretz Yisrael should remain tar, because Rashi says Mishum Takanas Truma, we're trying to protect the Truma within it. And then the Rabbanon Mar Savar Mutar Ligram Tuma Lechulin Shveretz Yisrael. Rabbi Lezer holds it's okay, at least in this case, when you're just trying to fix this thing up and arrange for a proper challah separation. So even though it's at the expense of that dough becoming tummy, no concern. Sorry, we're talking about the middle dough becoming tummy. That's the question. Right? You have the dough on the right, which is tummy. Dough on the left, which is tar. Now, as we explained, according to this approach, everybody will realize that the tumah will never spread to the dough on the left, because chulin is chulin and it can't become shlishi. The question is regarding that piece of dough in the middle, right? Remember that connector. That's going to become tummy. Rabbi Lezer says, don't worry, because it's trying to facilitate a proper hafrashas challah min amukav. Okay, so we sacrifice this piece of dough. Umar Savar, Rabbanan say, no, even in this case we insist that asur ligram tumah l'chulin shveretz Yisrael. We want to stick to our guns, stick to our principles. We don't compromise. We don't want to enable tumah in chulin in Eretz Yisrael. Therefore, don't employ this system. Don't stick pieces of dough in between the two of them, because that will make that middle piece tamei, which we don't want to do. So bottom line is, we have Rabbi Lezer the Rabban. We have two doughs. We have a fellow who wants to take off challah from the entire thing as one unit, which is the preferred manner. Rabbi Lezer says, take a piece of dough. So according to the Brisa, it's a kibetza size. Kibetza can receive and transfer tumah further. But there's no concern of transferring into the tahar dough onto the isa, which is tahar. Why? Because dough on the right is a rishon, dough in the middle becomes a sheni, and it cannot transfer further because chulin cannot become a shlishi. What do the Rabbanan hold? Why don't they go along with this? Either because they hold that shlishi can become chulin can become a shlishi, or we have other pshatim to explain why. Now Rashi goes a step further. Why does the Mishnah now limit the size of that middle piece of dough to less than a kibetza? Rabbi Lezer says you can do that, but it has to be less than a kibetza. What's that discussion all about? What's that insistence all about? So he says, according to one pshat, he says, very simple, there's a concern that if that piece of dough in the middle will be a kibetza, perhaps the challah portion, which he eventually separates, will come into contact with that middle piece of dough. He's not going to realize that he's running into tumah, and it's going to be matami the challah. So that perhaps is the concern. That's why the Mishnah insists on keeping that piece of dough to less than a shir kibetza. And even that the Chachamim don't agree with, because they hold that less than a kabetza can easily turn into a kabetza, and there's going to be a concern of transferring tumah to the challah. Okay, so that's a side point. Bottom line is, we seem to have found, well, it's pretty clear that we found 5 shitas that when it comes to chulin, it stops at a sheni. It doesn't transfer on to a shlishi. Continues the Gemara, Darash Rabbi Akiva. Back to the Mishnah. Discussed a series of presentations which were presented on that day when Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah was appointed Nasi. So one of these are concerning the cities given to the Leviim in Eretz Yisrael. So we had a contradiction. One pasuk speaks about adding a 1,000 amma strip of land around the city. The other pasuk spoke about a 2,000 amma strip of land. So how does this work? So Rabbi Akiva says 1,000 amma was for clearance to add aesthetic beauty to the city. 2,000 amma is unrelated to their territory. 2,000 amma is the Tchum Shabbos, to indicate that on Shabbos one must stay within the 2,000 amma perimeter of the city. According to Rabbi Elazar, this is back in the Mishnah on Chav Zayin. 1,000 is the clear area, Saras area. 2,000 amma are the Sodais V'Kramim, the fields and the vineyards. And there's no reference to Tchum Shabbos. Says the Gemara, what's the point of machlekes? Ma'ar Savat Tchum and Dairaisa. Rabbi Akiva holds this idea of staying within the Tchum is min HaTorah and sourced in this pasuk. Ma'ar Savat Rabbanan. Rabbi Elazar holds it's only a din Rabbanan, and therefore it's not sourced in this pasuk. Rather, the pasuk, which refers to 2,000, is speaking about the Sodais V'Kramim around their cities. Tana Rabbanan. We're going to proceed to Az Yasher and the way Klal Yisrael sang the Shira, which was also discussed in the Mishnah. On that day, Rabbi Akiva presented as follows: B'shah sha'olu Yisrael min hayam. When Klal Yisrael came out of the Yamsuf after crossing safely, Nasnu einayam le'ma Shira. They really wanted. They put their minds and hearts onto song, to praise and thank Hashem for their experience. The case of Amar Shira, in what manner, in what fashion was Shira sung? We have a machlekes. Kigodol hamakre is a halal, like an adult who reads the halal to exempt somebody else, to be mighty somebody else. So I read it, and the person listening is perhaps not proficient in Lashon HaKodesh, he's not an expert, so he listens and he sort of acknowledges. After every section, he sort of acknowledges like a chorus, like a set chant, which would be Hallelujah, as discussed in the Gemara in Sukkah. So I give him like a chapter, he says Hallelujah, another Hallelujah. So the same way that when the Gadol is Moitzi, somebody with Hallel, the other person responds with saying Hallelujah after every pasuk. Same thing here. So the Gadol who's standing in the shul and reading the Hallel, everybody responds with the word Hallelujah after every section, after every pasuk. So how did it work by Az Yasher? Moshe Amar Ashir Hashem. Moshe would say, Ashir Hashem, and they would respond with Ashir Hashem. Ashir Hashem. Moshe continued. Moshe Amar Kiga Iga. Again, they respond with that chant. That's Rabbi Akiva's approach. It was done differently. Kid Katan Hamakres Halal. Like a katan who doesn't have the ability to exempt, he can just read, and you can just read after him like a parrot. And the crowd on shul just responds word for word. So here as well, Moshe Amar Ashir Hashem. Moshe said Ashir Hashem. Ashir Hashem, they would respond the same way. Moshe Amar Kiga Iga, and they would respond in kind. So they would sort of repeat after him. From Nachem Yaimer, it took place differently. Because Sefer, like a Shliach Tzibur, is called a Sefer here. Rashi says, a Malamet Tinoik is a Rebbe who is commonly found in the Beis Medrash and the Beis HaKnesses. HaPoires al Shema beVeis HaKnesses. So this was a system they used to have in those days. Paris is like a prusa, a part. So basically, it was the way they used to say their Bircha is Krishma. And Rashi says it means, Paris means just some Pesach Chag. Here Rashi says it means like a preparation. He would sort of trigger it. He would lead the services, okay? He would lead it. So how do you lead the Shema the Beis HaKnesses? You just start, get it going. So the Sefer, the Shtech Tzibur starts, the first word or two. He says, boom, and then everybody follows suit. Same thing over here. Moshe Rabbeinu started, he initiated, and then Rashi says, everybody, Klal Yisrael was zoicha to a spontaneous, simultaneous Ruach HaKodesh. Sharsa Ruach HaKodesh al Kulam, v'kivenu yachad es hashira kiksav, and they all chanted together, they all knew what to say, all at once. So just like the Sefer, which does the same in the Beis HaKnesset, Pesach Tchila, Veinin and Achrav, they all get going. Likewise, by the Oz Yosher, Micah Miflagi. So we have three approaches. Rabbi Kivu says, the Moshe Rabbeinu would sing, and they would just respond a set response, a set chant. Whatever he would say, they would respond with the words, Asher El Hashem. According to the next Shita of Lezer, they would repeat it after him. So whatever he said, they repeated it after him. Rabbi Chemiu says that they all sang together at once after Moshe Rabbeinu initiated. Micah Miflagi, what's this based on? Rabbi Kiva Savar, he learns the pasuk like this. Pasuk says, Az Yasher, right? Vayomer Leimar. What does Leimar mean? As such, as this. Rabbi Kiva Savar, Leimar Musa Kamaisa. Leimar is going back on the first words of Shira. Ashir El Hashem. That's all Klal Yisrael said. In response to the psukim, or the partial psukim, said by Moshe Rabbeinu. This was their set response. This was their chorus, so to speak. Rabbi Lezer Moshe basically Sabar. The word Leimar, Vayomer Leimar, Akol Musa Musa, referring to everything Moshe Rabbeinu said. Everything was repeated by them. Whatever he said, he repeated word for word. Rabbi Chemi Sabar, what does Vayomer Leimar mean? Vayomer means the Amar Kulu Bad Adadi. They all said the Shira together. They didn't skip a word. Leimar just means it was in response to Moshe Rabbeinu's initiation. The Pasuk Moshe Bereisha. Moshe Rabbeinu started, he initiated, but then they all chanted together in unison. Tana Rabbanan, Dorash Rabbi Saglili, B'Shah Sh'ol Yisrael V'Nayam. When Klal Yisrael came out of the Yamsuf, Nosnu Einayim L'Mashira, they decided to sing. The case of Amr Shira. And how did they do it? Who did it? So until now we discussed how. Now it's a question of who was involved. Even an oilal, a toddler, mutal al imai, who was lying on his mother's lap, was also involved. And a baby, nursing from his mother's breast, also said Shira. Once they experienced the presence of Shechina, they recognized Hashem way back from Mitzrayim when they were raised by the Shechina, when they were looked after by the Shechina out in the fields. So what happens? They responded, Oilel, Higbiat Savarei, the toddler lifted his neck, V'tinag Shamad, Dab Nepiv, and the baby nursing let go of the breast, V'amru, and they all responded, Zekeh, this is how Hashem, Zekeh Levanveu. Shneimar, as the Pasuk says, that everybody was involved. V'pi Oilelim, V'yonkim, Yisad Ta'oiz, you established it even through the expressions of the Oilelim V'yonkim, the babies and toddlers. A step further. Shafilu Ubrim, how do we know that even unborn children were involved in the Shira? Hashem Mimkar Yisrael, even a fetus still on the source. Asks the Gemara, but the Uber doesn't see. How could he? Omar Tanchum Keres Naslan, their mother's stomach became transparent, like a transparent glass, Vero, and they experienced and they saw the Shechina with their eyes. Okay, a quick chazara. So we have the halacha that chulin can just go until sheni l'tuma, not further. We have 5 shitas on that, and then we have a discussion whether Tchum is the Raisa or the Rabbanon, 3 ways of saying Shira, and how everybody, from top to bottom, was involved in saying Shira, even the Uber, Shib Me'imoy, Hashem Mimkar Yisrael. All the best to you, Hatzlacha Rav and Psura Yisrael.